Okay, today we're talking about completing the squares. It's one of the topics anyway that we have on 2.1.1 in Precalc. 2.1.2. So the first part of the worksheet is just about quick sketching the graphs of equations that are already in Vertex form. But what if they're not in Vertex form? That's not in Vertex form. Here's how you can do a process called completing the square. Hopefully you learned this last year in higher algebra, but maybe you didn't. I'm moving that plus 1 all the way to the right. Does that break any math rules? Like an equation, like if I add 5 to both sides, I can't just add 5 to one side, right? I'd have to add it to both sides, right? Does it break any rules to move the plus 1 over?
Oh.
Ah, yes, that's right. Yes, it's true. So I'm moving that plus 1 over to make room. So now I have to do half of this number, and then I square it. What's half of the 8? 4, and then I square it. 16. Do you get, if I add 16 and that's all I do, that I've broken the rules of math on an equation? You're supposed to add 16 to both sides. But it'll save us a lot of time. Instead of adding 16 to that side, do you get that I could just subtract 16 right here? And you might say, that's the stupidest thing in the world. You just added 16 and then subtracted 16. But there's a reason. It keeps it balanced. This and this counteract each other, so now it's just as if this equation is like it was originally, right? But why did I do it? Because now this part factors. It's called a perfect square. Watch how it factors. X plus 4 times x plus 4. And what's cool about that is then they can merge together into one thing, x plus 4 quantities squared. And then I just got to put these two guys together, make minus 15. And look, Mom, I got Vertex form. See what just happened there? I went from general form to Vertex form. And now I know the vertex. It's negative 4, negative 15. How many of you feel like you could do that again? All right, there's only 5 people who feel confident. Okay, so I'm going to show you another one. Watch. Y equals x squared plus, let's make it 10x minus 10. All right, everybody write this one down. You got to do this one with me. Watching, you only retain 10%. Watching and listening, 10%. 10% is awful. I need you to retain more like 70 or 80%. Okay, so I'm taking this negative 10, and everybody, you've got a scissors tool on your iPad. You can just snip it and move it over. Okay, I'm moving it over because I need room. Now, do you remember what I did again? Half and square. And yes, I've said before that it sounds like a little German boy's name. Half and square. I speak a little bit of German. I was actually fluent in German when I was in college. Yeah, is when I passed the fluency test. But it's been a long time. My German's really rusty. But anyway, ich spreche Deutsch. Half and then square it. Half and square. What's half of it? Squared is 25. So I put a plus 25, and then, so that I'm not breaking the rules of math, I can't just add 25 to this side of the equation unless I also minus 25. Okay? Now, this part's a perfect square. Y equals x plus 5. And yes, you could write it twice, but what would be even smarter? Writing it once and then saying squared. Yes. Okay. And then these guys go together and make what? Negative 35. So what's my vertex? Negative 5, comma, negative 35. Notice that one stays the same. It keeps its negativeness. This one has to change. Why? Because you don't trust the things on the inside is one way to say it. Or you could say we're sticking in a negative 5 here so that this all becomes 0, and then the answer for y would be negative 35. Okay? However you slice it, this vertex would be negative 5, comma, negative 35. Okay. Now how many of you think you get completing the square? Pretty much everybody. Good. I'm going to give you one to do all by yourself, and I want you to turn it my way when you've got it done to prove to me that you have mastered completing the square. This is the simple kind. We will get a little more complicated in a minute, but I'm going to make sure here. Yes, good job. Put a y equals and you have it. Yes. Put a y equals. Nope. So, well, you just have to put something together and you'll have it. Good. Wait. Number on the inside's messed up. Good. Wait a minute. Your number at the end is negative and it shouldn't be. Good. Good. Your last number's messed up. Good. It's good. Your last number's messed up. It's the most common place for mess up. Your last number's messed up. Yours is good. Yours is good. Can you put your brightness up a smidge? Yours is good. Yours is good. Yours is good. Yep, that's it. That's it. Okay, so I saw most people get it right, but whenever it was wrong, it was always the last number. And let me show you why. X squared plus 4x plus, now we do the half and square, move the 11 over here. Half of 4 is 2, 2 squared is 4, and then there's a minus 4. And it's so common for people to get this part right. And then notice that this is the like it's not half of that, it is, but it's supposed to be the square root of this number. It goes here, okay? And then these numbers go together, and people will mess up the negativeness of it, or they'll just forget the 11 that was there, or anyway. So final answer on this one was plus 7. So what is the vertex? Negative 2 comma 7. Okay, that's completing the square. Raise your hand if you were successful on that one now. Okay, good. Now, let's move it up a notch. That's what you should learn in higher algebra. Here's what you should learn in Precalc. Okay, and that's to have ones that aren't quite so easy. Where the first number, the lead coefficient, is 2. All right. This, by the way, is a trinomial. It's got 3 parts. And the lead coefficient, the one on the x squared, is 2. That was a couple terms we learned yesterday. Anyway, if I want to do this one, I'd start by moving that negative 1 over. If I had a scissors tool, I would use that, but I don't. There. Now, my next step is, what is wrong with this? You can't get it to factor. Even if I do the right half and square and everything, I can't get it to factor to a 2x and a 2x. Think about it, because this is 2x. These have to be identical to each other if it's going to be a perfect square. So that can't work the way it is. So what you do is you factor off that 2 off of here and here. Notice I am not touching the negative 1. It doesn't have to be factored. I'm just factoring the first 2 parts. I take the 2 out, and I have x squared plus 4x. Everybody get that far, please. You want to do this one with me. If you just watch me, you're not going to remember much. Okay, now, after I've done x squared plus 4x, does this remind you that I need to know a number to put here? And who tells me? Half and square, yes. Half 4 is 2, 2 squared is 4. I put a plus 4 here. And then now, this is a little weirder. I have to put a minus 4 out here. And then, this is really, really tricky, and everybody forgets this part. Do you get that this 2 now is going to get multiplied by that 4, effectively, because I got a 2 out in front? That means this 4 and this 4 will no longer cancel each other out like they're supposed to. The point of those 2 numbers is they're supposed to be equal. So if I'm going to multiply this one by 2, I have to multiply this one by 2 also. So whatever you factored out in front, you have to then put at the end by the second number. Now these two numbers are supposed to cancel each other out. So put that 2 that you put here at the end there. That's another reason why that last number gets messed up a lot of times. A lot of times people have this last part of the answer wrong. Y equals 2, and then this part is x plus 2 and x plus 2, which I personally would write as x plus 2 quantity squared right away. That puts it in vertex form, and if I can just figure out the number to put right here, I'll have it. 2 times negative 4 makes negative 8 minus 1, negative 9. The only extra thing you had to do is factor something out. And it even goes along with my little saying, if you can factor it, you should. I can factor this, so I should. Okay, I'll give you another one. Y equals 6x squared plus 12x minus 2. Now, don't try to take a 6 out of that 2. Move the 2 way over, and then do your factoring. Whoa. Was it a plus 2 or a minus 2 at the end? Thank you. Okay. Tell me what you think it is. I'll check yours. Turn it my way. It's going to be a big number at the end. You already forgot that little step that everybody forgets. Oh, wait a minute. I did my half and square wrong. You might have been right. Hold on thought a second. I'm just doing it in my head. That's not as good, of course. What did you have again? That was right. Nice job. Yours is right. Nice job. Yes. Yes. 4 people have it. Your last number's messed up. Try again. 5 people have it. Nice job. 6 people have it. Zoom in on just the answer. 7 people have it. 8 people have it. Can't zoom any further? It's okay. I can look. Nope. Your last number is messed up, and you factored out a 3. Try factoring out a 6. The inside needs to get factored, and then you'll have it. That needs a y equals, and the last number's slightly off. That one's right. Nice job. You got it. You've got it. Your last number is messed up somehow. Something bad happened when you factored the 6 out. Middle number's messed up. Last number's messed up. What happens for that last number is that 6 that you factored out to the front has to get multiplied at the end. Remember that. And now you've got it, except you have to have a y equal. So other than that, you're good. Yes, that's it. All right. There's still several people that don't have it. Let me help you. Please, if you didn't have it, more than anybody else, you need to do this with me. The 6 comes out to the front, and I have x squared plus 2x. This 2 always just drops down to the next line. And now I do half and square. Half of this, half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. And then, if I do plus 1, I got to do minus 1. And now comes the moment that often people forget, and it gets them the last part wrong. This 6 is going to multiply by this. So we have to also multiply it by the negative 1. Final answer, y equals 6. X plus 1, and I could do 2x plus 1s, but I'm going to say squared. And then that's negative 6, that's negative 2, that makes negative 8. There you go. Any questions on that one? Okay, this next one is also a factoring out thing, but you're just going to factor out a negative. Notice the 1 moves over first. Don't factor a negative out of the last number. You never touch the last number. Pause for a second. Let me try this one. All right, so here's the approach on this one. You got to factor out a negative. Well, you're factoring out a -1. You don't have to write -1. You can just write a negative, and then everything becomes its opposite. So this will become positive x squared and a minus 4x. Now I've got to do my half and square thing and bring this down. So the half and square, half of -4 is -2, but then you square it, positive 2 and minus 2. That way they cancel each other out. This part right here factors. Your final answer should have been -1 x minus 2 squared. I bet a lot of people had a plus right there. And then these together would make -3. That's the most common mistake answer. What did I forget? That -1 right here has to also multiply right there. And that makes that positive 2. Positive 2 minus 1 makes 1. See, 2 places to screw this up. Forget that that's a negative. Why? Because there's a negative right there. And if you forget that this -1 needed to be brought over from over here. Okay? All right, one more. Just you. Negative x squared minus 20x minus 1. Try it. Okay, so we're partway into this problem now. We have -1 factored out, and then we did half and square. Half of the 20 is 10. 10 squared is 100. That's how we got that 100. And that's a -100 to balance it out. And then what do I not I needed to not forget something. That -1 goes over here because there's one here that's going to hit this one. So we need another one right there to hit that one to balance it out. Okay, then we have y equals -1 times x plus 10 quantity squared. That makes positive 100 minus 1, positive 99. Raise your hand if you had the same thing I did. Okay, awesome. You've learned to complete the square. Now let's see what else, what other joys you have in store for you on your worksheet. So everybody get back to the worksheet for today. It's right here. And this is the one. Notice how it says find the vertex? It doesn't say complete the square. You have to know that, oh, I could complete the square to do this. So I have a dumb way to remember this. See if this works for you. The vertex, it's like a car. Doesn't it sort of sound like a car name? The Vertex. This is not just the Vertex, though. This is the Vertex CTS. Sort of like the Cadillac CTX. It's the Vertex CTS. And that'll remind you that it's the vertex and you complete the square, CTS. Okay, so complete square. So basically, this is an easy one as long as you move that over 1. So it's -x squared plus 8x plus 3. Don't forget to do that, though. And then you can complete the square on it by factoring out that -1, right? This one also is going to need to factor out a -1. And this one's going to need to factor out something, too. All right? So there's my tips for that section of your homework. Now let's scroll down a bit here. Oh, wait a minute. How on earth are you going to find the vertex on that? I'll give you a hint. It's already in vertex form. Just doesn't look like it. Who could tell me how I could write it slightly differently so I know the vertex? Yes, sir. X plus 0 squared minus 16. Now it looks like vertex form, doesn't it? Nice job. All right. And then the last couple questions are just about taking, let's see, let's look at 13 and 14 here. Write an equation for a quadratic whose graph contains the given vertex and point. One more thing I get to teach you. It's kind of a longer day today than I thought it was. Okay, so let's do number 13 together. So everybody get to number 13. You're going to want some help with this. All right, so if I've got the vertex and I've got a point on that, you know how we had this formula, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x sub 1? That doesn't work with quadratics. But there's a formula just like it that does work for quadratics. And that formula is y equals a x minus h squared plus k. Write that down. That's basically just vertex form with an a in the front for a stretch factor, and h and the k are the vertex. Okay? So I start with that formula, and now I stick in things I know. Like, if I put in this point and this point into this equation, I can then solve for a and find out what the stretch factor is. Because do you get, if I just stick the vertex in right here, I know the vertex is 1, 3, so I can stick in this vertex. If the vertex is 1, then I want a minus 1 here, right? And then comma 3, I want a plus 3 here, right? Why isn't that good enough? Because we don't know the a. We don't know the stretch factor. So it's not quite that simple. And besides, they gave us this other point, which I never used, right? So that wouldn't be good enough. So how do I find out what a is? I take this other point that I never used, this part right here, and I put it into the equation. Think about it this way. Didn't they give you an x and a y by giving you a point? So we're going to put it in for x. That's x. That's y. So x is 0. So I'm going to replace this 0, or sorry, x with a 0. And I'm going to replace the y with a negative 5. And the cool part is, do you get that there's only one thing left, and that's a? And now I just have to solve this little thing, and I now know a. Okay? So 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1. So I have negative 5 equals 1a, which is just a, plus 3. And if you can't solve that, we've got to move you back a grade. There we go. A is negative 8. Now, that's not the final answer. That's the hard part. The final answer is easy now. They just wanted an equation for it. Y equals the slope, it's kind of like a slope. The stretch factor is negative 8. And then I go x minus, and I don't say h and k because I know what they are. H and k are the vertex. So if I have to put my vertex numbers there and there, I hope you know how to do that. The vertex is 1, 3, so I want x minus 1, because that's opposite of 1 then, comma 3, plus 3. There's my equation. Now, I pretty much did that one for you. So hopefully you will get a chance to practice that on problem 14. Question? Were you asking how to get the A? Okay. All right. Okay, I'm clearing that off so we can move down a bit. And basically, this is the total review of yesterday. It's just got 2 points. And you know what? We've done this so much that since I assigned the top 20, I'm skipping 15 and 16. You may skip those on from kids in my class because we're doing that on our top 20 little homework assignment for tonight. So those last 2 are skips. Now, if you never passed the top 20 with an 18 or better, then you also have version 1 of the top 20. I know that adds a little more homework than normal tonight. I'll try to make it up to you on tomorrow's homework, but I can't really take any more off this assignment or you won't have any to practice with. So, all right, so tonight's homework. This worksheet, except not the last 2 problems, and the top 20 version number 1, unless you already tested out of it. Tomorrow we're taking a top 20 test on those basics, and if you've already tested out of it, it should be an easy test for you.